My phone. Hang on. Right back. This will make it possible for me to share with the world. Here we
go. By the way, if you're not vaccinated by next week, this podcast ends.
Oh. What does that mean?
I'm saying that I've given you enough time.
Been fully vaccinated since, March.
Not for fucking measles when you were 2. No.
Oh, that doesn't.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, Britt, guess what? See the shirt I'm wearing today? I'm wearing one of your favorites.
Oh, look at that. Oh, bygone era.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's insensitive and racist that I'm even wearing it, as you know. All right. It is the Brad and Britt cast. Glad you're with us here this day. Thank you for joining us here. I guess all anybody's talking about is our Atlanta Brit now.
I'll tell you what.
Good for that.
If you're watching, it's kind of weird. We're both wearing red today because we're celebrating the big Republican victories on. Yeah, there you go. The big Republican victories in Virginia and possibly in New Jersey, where that one's still out there. Rough night for Democrats reads one of the headlines.
The Jersey one's in the bag. Jersey one's is in the bag for Murphy. That's not even a question.
All right. Well, we still have a problem in Virginia where it's Youngkin's race, and of course the huge portent of awful things for the Democrats. There's no reason to even campaign for the midterm elections. The Democrats are dead. They're slaughtered. It's all over. And Joe Biden is anything but, he's just a complete lame duck and shouldn't even try to do anything for the rest of his term, Brad. The Democratic Party is in a shambles. They're ruined, and they'll never win another election. That seems to be the consensus, doesn't it?
Kind of sums it up. Yeah. We can just turn off the lights, bring the pumpkin in off the porch. It's a couple days past Halloween. Oh, by the way, I was at the Walmart earlier this morning, and you probably didn't pay attention to this because I know you didn't do Halloween. You avoided being at home because you're a piece of shit and you hate children.
That's correct. Okay. All of those are true statements.
Right. You hate the children. But the price of pumpkins this year was way up.
Thanks a lot, Biden.
Right. For a long time, they might be $4 or $5 a piece. Okay. Well, they were already at $7, $8, $9, $10, just about everywhere. And even at Walmart, they were $8. And apparently a lot of people didn't buy pumpkins this year because they're too high in inflation, which of course is Joe Biden's fault.
Correct.
So today I go to Walmart. They had hundreds of them still sitting there, but marked down to $3.28. $328. So of course I bought 2 because now I'm set for next year, right? It's like
Right.
Christmas wrapping paper or something like that.
Have you ever done the thing where you went and bought the candy the day after and like stuck it in the freezer or something? You ever done that? Yeah, you're not that cheap. You're just not. I'm not that.
No, I am that cheap, but I just haven't done that. I haven't gotten around to it. I hadn't thought of it. And by the way, if I did that, I would have to move some of the toilet paper that I'm hoarding. Okay,
in the freezer. You keep it in the freezer so it'll be nice and cool. Sure, of course.
Yeah.
So what does it mean? Does it mean anything? And et cetera, et cetera. Is the consternation, the gnashing of teeth? Oh my God, the Democrats have to change message. They're irrelevant. I personally am kind of afraid, not just because of this, but I think in general that a lot of people have bought into the propaganda from the Republican media wing about the minimization in general of what happened on January the 6th. And they're kind of over it. And it bothered me, yes, but it's not going to control how I vote in the future. And the governor I'm voting for in my state, he's not really connected. He or she is not really connected to what happened on January the 6th and those people over there. Do you see what I'm saying there?
Well, I think what you just said in the last minute, unfortunately, kind of hovers over every other aspect of this. Yeah. Because again, you're right. We're only 10 months past January the 6th. And just like with legislation over infrastructure and human infrastructure, sorry to use the phrase, couldn't think of anything else at the moment, the Democrats have made no actual on-the-ground progress to get the story out, help people get justice, help the Attorney General make some kind of decision. And I don't know where he is. I don't know how long he's going to have to deliberate over what's going to happen here. So because of it's not just the perception of not getting anything done, because nothing is getting done the way we want to. And we do live in a world where we don't give anybody any time to give us an answer or get results anymore, because I hear this whole technology thing has squeezed people's expectations down to they want instantaneous. I've heard that. I'm not sure. I think that's true. But I guess we are better off, you and I, talking about what we're talking about here, because we don't want to rehash everything that people have already said in a more granular way about some of the issues. But I absolutely agree that what happened in Virginia was a complete, perfect mass cognitive dissonance moment where not only does January 6th not matter, not only have people bought into forgetting about it, not only have people said, well, yeah, but it wasn't that big of a deal, and the price of gas is up a dime in the last 2 weeks.
Correct.
All of those things, and this guy, Glenn Youngkin, comes out of nowhere. Here he is. He's like Mitt Romney, except a little bit more friendly, okay? And not quite as rich, but probably demonstrably more rich than Trump, okay? Because it doesn't take you long to look up his bio. He is worth approximately $440 million. He was the president of the Carlyle Group, the private equity folks. Just like Trump or what Romney was with Bain Capital. It's the same thing, same idea, okay? Right. You buy up companies, fuck over the workers, strip it, and sell it for more money. It's a great business. Yeah. He was president of that until last September. And then I think he's about 53 or 54. He said, you know what? I think I've made enough money. I want to be the fucking governor of Virginia. And I'll put some of my own money into the campaign. I don't have to call up people and beg for money because I got plenty of it. So if that isn't the definition of what a plutocrat is, the ruling class, the moneyed class, but then I don't know what is.
He ran a successful campaign where he just stressed economic issues. That's all he talked about. There was nothing social or culture.
Out as just this typical dad with blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm just like you. And I mean, And we can come up with 500 examples of how almost all politicians change their biography or shade it or try to smooth out whatever things about them won't look good. But when Republicans do it this way, as being extremely rich,
Yeah.
and not really having to go through what the average person goes through. And again, I mean, Joe Biden is kind of the opposite of this. He overplays it, of course. He makes it seem like he was born in a log cabin with no electricity, no running water in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Oh, okay, I get that. Okay, he kind of overplays that, but that's not the point. And by the way, I'd rather have you overplay that than hide the fact that you're loaded and you're a president of private equity, and now people see you present yourself. And by the way, he played the game. You've always said this. I didn't make the game. I didn't make up the game. I just play. I just play the game or whatever.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. And it wasn't even there was no real substance to any of his platforms.
Didn't matter.
Just I don't want little Johnny reading fuck in the library at school. That's basically what his platform was. Right? I mean, if I'm lying, I'm flying. That's basically what it was.
Well, that line that got pulled out from Terry McAuliffe saying, I don't want parents coming in telling teachers what they can teach and what schools can teach, of course, is cited as the pivotal moment when the polls changed. McAuliffe was up by 5. Yeah. And at that moment, it all started to turn because the Republicans, and for the millionth time, we've said that they're better at finding one little speck of shit in a mound of diamonds and running with it. And McAuliffe never had a good response to that. This is the problem that I see, because clearly Terry McAuliffe did not mean, and I know you're explaining you're losing, but clearly Terry McAuliffe did not mean that parents should have nothing to say about their children's education. He didn't mean that. And that's not really what he said, but it didn't matter. They turned it into that. And of course, my view is most of these people who you see at the meetings screaming, who very well may be part of an organized effort to take over school boards and county commissions and things of that sort, most of them probably at this moment do not even have children in public school systems. But again, that doesn't matter. I understand that. Facts don't matter here. It doesn't matter. Because I feel that. I saw it on TV. I know they're teaching this critical race theory. I don't know what it is. I just know that it makes my kid think that all white people suck, and that Grandpa was probably a slave owner, and we're hiding it. And we hate black people. We're just not telling our kids. But in school, we finally learned the truth about how horrible it is to be what. And of course, it doesn't matter that is not true. It doesn't matter that it isn't taught. It doesn't matter that was an academic theory at the college level that was developed decades ago that is barely discussed at the college level, let alone having trickled down into high school or elementary school curricula around the country. It does not matter that this is not taught, and that I don't even think there's a way to, quote, teach it. It's not a 3-week course. It's not one of those, like you get the thing in the mail. Great courses, for $50, you can have the greatest people. And they'll Serena Williams will make you into a Wimbledon level player in 3 weeks if you watch the videos. I didn't see anything in the last one about critical race theory.
It's a master class. Yeah, there's a master class on how Whitey's bad. Haven't you seen it?
Right. But it doesn't really matter, because what this did was it allowed Glenn Youngkin and he did it brilliantly. He separated himself from Donald Trump, but embraced the tenets of Trumpism and repackaged it and relabeled it and rebranded it as one word: education. And education, what's the most important ruling in the Supreme Court in the 20th century? It's Brown versus Board of
Education. We get a do-over on that. Apparently, I don't think that was a good ruling. We need a do-over on that situation.
Right, but just the fact that the word
is in there,
carries so much weight
you just say it
to it, and it has racial implications,
Sure.
even if it doesn't have racial meaning.
And it was a lack of education that got Glenn Youngkin the governorship in Virginia.
Right.
So the irony of all of it.
The true irony is apparently in the main, in the whole, Virginia has great public schools.
Of course they do. Of course
they're probably light years ahead of, say, the public schools overall in North Carolina. But again, does not matter. What happened? We sure did shift pretty quickly from parents being most concerned about their average or above average students who don't have any disabilities, who are trying to get through school, and then maybe go to a public university, or if they're lucky, maybe a private university. They have the money and the classes that they're taking. Do they help with their resume and what they're going to fill out to send to colleges? And how can my kid do well? That shifted apparently within the last few months to, I'm really worried that my 17-year-old will be in an advanced course where a book by Toni Morrison might be required reading, as it apparently has been for decades in a lot of schools. And how they were able to elevate that. And it's that guy who was, I guess, about 8 months ago that was on Tucker Carlson that started this, right? That's how it all started. Nobody ever heard it. This guy brought it up in one segment on that show, and it took off. And so that was a big part of the electorate that was in second place behind, quote unquote, the economy. All right. And I get that. There's no question about that. But as you know, and I know, naturally, the governor of a state, of your state, is not in control of gasoline prices, grocery prices, inflation, in everything that, of course, they're not. But that doesn't matter, does it? It does not matter a bit.
It seems that in a place like Virginia, which we had kind of thought of as somewhat of a blue state, there's a lot of palatability for the Trump agenda, as you say, and Trump in general, so that if Trump is on the ballot, if he is the Republican nominee in 2024, there are a lot of people who maybe thought a year and a half ago, or even less than that, oh man, this was a disaster. This was a bad idea. I'll never vote for Donald Trump again. This is bad. Who would now go, I don't remember anything bad about that guy. Yeah, I think we could go with that guy again. I mean, that's the real fear here.
Well, but let's not get ahead of ourselves to 24. Let's get to what happened on Tuesday.
Yeah,
because those people, and by the way, this is another one of my all-time, forever until somebody fix it, pet peeves about coverage of elections. Stop calling it election day. It's not election day. The election started 45 days ago in Virginia. They've been voting for 45 days. And they act and they pretend as if Tuesday is the only day
you're never going to win that one. You're never going to win that, Don Quixote. There's a windmill over there. Go ahead and tilt at it.
I'm sticking with it. It's election month. It's election season.
Right.
It's game 7 of the World Series.
Well, hopefully the Republicans will be able to figure that out and stop that early voting. I mean, I think that's certainly on the agenda. They'd love to be able to do that. But yes, of course.
Right. But I think that the big shift which occurred as Glenn Youngkin increased turnout. He increased turnout way bigger than the last gubernatorial election 4 years ago. He got 300,000 more votes than the last Republican who ran and lost to Ralph Northam, the previous governor, the outgoing governor. And Terry McAuliffe got the same number of votes, I think, that Northam got. So these were people that I think made the affirmative decision after surveying the landscape of the last 10 months, well, 12 months, right, since the November election, and said, I held my nose and voted for Joe Biden, many of them. These are Republicans that had said, I'm out, no more Trump, right, a year ago. And now, because of the, as always, perfectly deceptive Look over here campaign of Glenn Youngkin. It's all about the books your kids read in school. It's about the economy. And by the way, we're not done with this, because you can't just blame the brilliance of Republicans and the stupidity of the electorate. You have to blame the Democratic Party just in general, tripping over their own dicks, not getting any legislation passed, and then allowing whatever legislation is being discussed to be only about the price. It's as if when you
thanks,
go to
Joe
buy a
Manchin. Thank you, Joe Manchin. Appreciate that.
Well,
good job, Joe Manchin.
It isn't just Joe Manchin. I mean,
it's a lot. In big measure, it is. In a lot of ways, it is. It's only 95%. The other 5% is Kristen Sinema. So thanks to those guys. That's really a lot of the problem that we have. And that's and in her case, she didn't really stand up for anything. You could never ask her what she wanted with the package. It wasn't right.
I understand that, but Joe Manchin can also be thought of as the voice of sanity that protected the Democrats from doing something even more destructive politically. I'm not saying that whatever kind of legislation, the $2 trillion, the $3.5 trillion, or the cherry pie $6 trillion wouldn't have helped many Americans, but politically, we're not living in 1937 anymore, and Joe Biden was never going to be FDR, and Joe Biden was never going to be reelected practically by acclamation because of pulling the country either out of an impending recession and think about this, 2 months ago, the coronavirus was surging. It was horrible. Things were looking really, really bad. What if this election had been held 2 months ago? The number one issue could not have been critical race theory education. It would have been our hospitals are overflowing. Who's best suited to do something about it? So things change so quickly.
Let me cut through that. West Virginia, a state that is always on the gravy train when it comes to federal money. Now this guy is worried about the spending of bucks, and it's too much. And what's the right number, Joe? Well, I don't know what it is, but I'll know it when I see it and I feel it. It's like pornography. And when I get to the right number, I'll let you know. And that's part of the reason this whole thing has been stalled, is he just can't get to a number that just feels right. He's a used car salesman at this point, Brad. What's it going to take, Joe, for me to get you on this bill? And he went along with the program back in January when the original package went through, and Joe Biden said, I really need you. But now he's like, fuck you. And as far as making the Democrats make a bigger mistake politically, I don't know about that. I just know that he puts his feet in concrete, and it looks like they're feeding into what everybody wants from the Democrats, is that they just bump into each other and can't get shit done, when in fact it's the Republicans who are always the ones with their feet in concrete saying no, 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 no to everything coming and going. That's the real issue here. So yes, thank you, Joe Manchin, for accomplishing absolutely zero and making sure that there was nothing on the plate there for the Democrats to have on election day here in 2021.
You bastard.
And now going forward, I don't know. But again, it seems like the palatability of Trumpism, it's rocking on. It's rocking on. He was going to claim credit for this. Asshole baby said that Fox News called Youngkin as the winner after CNN and MSNBC. They wanted a Democrat to win, Brad. Now, of course, he tried to claim credit for getting Youngkin over the finish line, but that was after he put fraud in the water, saying that if there was going to be fraudulence in this thing, oh, wait a minute, my guy won. No, it's a straight election. It's fair, and the people have spoken.
Are you saying there was no fraud this time? I guess not.
Well, I think for the McAuliffe team, they should probably go into Richmond and start breaking windows and stuff. Isn't that what you do? I thought was what.
Unfortunately, this is the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Terry McAuliffe has already conceded. He's already conceded.
Loser.
And as of my last checking in on this story, and I'm always interested in this one, this part of it. At this point, and Terry McAuliffe put out this statement, very eloquent, very, whatever I can do to help, what you're supposed to do, that kind of thing. Okay. And then it was, but he hasn't been able to speak yet to Glenn Youngkin. Youngkin apparently not being quote unquote reachable right now. Now we know that that's not possible. Okay, that's just not possible. Now, is it even remotely possible that Glenn Youngkin wouldn't take Terry McAuliffe's concession call? What is that? What would that be all about? And I don't know whether that's true. I just want it to be true. But could that be possible?
That doesn't seem possible. But I'll tell you I'll tell you who's got a big shot in the arm, if I may use that particular phrase, because I know shots in the arm are bad things now. I would say the Mark Robinson for governor campaign in North Carolina is rocking, rolling, and getting it is on a train. You're gonna see culture war shit in North Carolina that you ain't seen since Jesse Helms. It's going to be some amazing shit because there's got to be a huge wave of support for this man in North Carolina for his gubernatorial campaign.
Well, I'll see you and raise you, because if you look right below Glenn Youngkin, the racism issue, as it was articulated through the critical race theory scam, I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
Is
big lie. That's the second big lie.
All right. But it's undercut by who was elected lieutenant governor and I think attorney general, who had two minorities. One or both of them are women. So what can you say to that? You can't say, well, Republicans voted for Glenn Youngkin because they're racist, but they decided to vote for minorities on the next two levels. That's a tough one. And that, of course, goes back to what you just said about Mark Robinson, okay? Because clearly what he will do is get out front and start claiming, reverse racism by liberals over, that's okay if you're a black liberal, but if you're a black me, then there's something wrong with you. You can hear it echoing already, and it hasn't even been said yet. So I'm glad you put that one on the record there, because I will never acknowledge that you came up with that first, of course.
I don't know how many appearances he's made on Fox News. Fox News will love him. He is everything Fox News will and now the game will be for Newsmax and all these other crazy asses that are like, oh no, Fox News sucks. You need to come on here. Robinson's going to have to pivot and talk about how Fox News is the enemy, except he really needs those voters in order to be governor. So there has to be some sort of, he's got to get somebody to kind of steer the ship. But this is the guy. This is the black Jesse Helms that so many Republicans have dreamed of. They've got the guy, and I'm telling you, they're seeing green lights all over the place with what happened in Virginia, here and other places. Now it seems like, man, we got this guy. We can do gay stuff.
Helms times 3. He's the black Jesse Helms times 3. See what I did there? That was wrong.
Times 3. Are you talking about in terms of body size or body mass index? Or
yes, I am, and I apologize.
No, I don't. I don't apologize.
Just inexcusable.
He's the greatest because you can not only do critical race theory, you can be completely racist. Well, you can do the gay stuff with him. He doesn't shy away from it. He absolutely he'll go out there and tell you how he hates gay people and transphobia is weird and it's awful and it's bad and they're going to rape your kids. He'll go out and say all the stuff that you don't really think that you can say, that's not really polite to say in society, that you really support. He has no compunction about changing that. So he's the guy. He's your boy, Republicans, and you'll be able to throw your arms around that son of a bitch coming up real soon.
Months ago, even before the last presidential election, it was widely discussed that no matter what happens in the election ahead, which meant, before 2020, no matter what happens with Trump, he has already put poison into the pond. Okay. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if he's, still driving around. He put the poison in the pond and it will spread. And the big fear was that Trumpism would be continued and it would be homogenized by someone just like Trump, who doesn't have the personal baggage and doesn't have the bad manners and doesn't have the insult comic, bad imitation of Don Rickles shtick that Donald Trump has. And I think we just found at least the first version of that in Virginia. And it worked. It absolutely worked. And the Democrats definitely, if they didn't learn anything from putting Terry McAuliffe up there, is, you never buy retreaded tires, do you? You always buy new tires.
You got to buy new ones, yeah.
Retreads can come back at you.
So that's the deal. That's what's going on, and that's a problematic thing, and it drives me absolutely nuts. Any other takeaways that you have from the Democratic disaster that happened? And now the New Jersey thing shouldn't have ever been close, right? It should not. That's what people are really
right. The New Jersey thing. The New Jersey thing, you could argue, is actually more frightening because New Jersey isn't a state that just turned blue. Okay. I mean, it's been a very, very Democratic state for a long time. However, there was, again, a gentleman named Chris Christie. He was a Republican governor who got elected twice. So they have elected Republican governors before. But in this case, following the full repudiation of Trump in the 2020 election, I think Trump lost in Jersey. We locals call it just Jersey, in case you didn't know that. We get rid of the word new. He lost New Jersey, I think, by 16 points last year. So that's a pretty big gap. So for Phil Murphy, who was considered a pretty good governor, you saw him a lot during a lot of the disasters, the natural disasters. He was always there. I think he did the right things. He got a good demeanor, friendly guy. For him to have only squeaked this one out, which apparently is what's going to happen because the votes that were left by Wednesday morning were all mail-in votes that hadn't been counted from the heavily Democratic areas. So the margin was too close, and he overcame it. Now, remember, if something like that would have happened in Virginia, holy shit, that definitely would have been the same script that Trump tried. He would say that the votes that are counted today after the election is over are illegal, that there was cheating. These votes came from nowhere, right? That was their game plan. That's what they were doing, right?
So is there anything the Democrats can do as far as messaging or getting out the vote or any of that shit? I mean, I just don't know. There's always seemed to be a hand wringing. If we could just expand the message and appeal to these, but I mean, it's just dumb white people, isn't it? I mean, I hate to boil this down, but isn't that what it costs when it comes down to brass tacks? You can't say that. Obviously, you can't get up there if you're Terry McAuliffe and go, "You stupid ass white people, what is wrong with you?" All right, I'm out of here. I can see it. You can't say that, but I mean that's essentially what happened.
Well, I think maybe just pulling back in the broader picture here, the Democrats have to figure out how to fight the culture wars better than they do. They're always on the defensive. They're always back on their heels. They never initiate a culture war because you can't say that, well, you know what? You know what's going to come back in 2022 that's going to save us? If the court throws out Roe versus Wade. Okay? Do you really think about it, do you think that will be a motivating factor for people to go to the polls the way Republicans have been whipped up into a frenzy for 40 years over judges and court rulings? Will the Democrats respond in the same way over a right that will have been taken away? That again, when you poll abortion in general, it's heavily favored that people should have access to an abortion.
Right.
And then most people say, but there can be limits on the outer edges, and that Roe versus Wade, that ruling,
that's been the game. That's been the game for 50
perfect
years.
It's worked. Yeah. It's worked fairly well.
It's like a line in Vegas. If you like the Rams at 4.5, do you like them at 5? Do you like them at 6? They'll do that with abortion. Okay, you're in favor of women being able to freely do what they want to with their body. What about on demand? Okay. Okay. What about to choose? What about for teenagers? What and they just kind of dice it down and dice it down and dice it down.
You're right. It doesn't matter because they will always pick and get underneath what is something that has reasonably worked for most people,
right?
And then find exceptions and outrageous incidences. And tonight on Hannity, a doctor in Kansas who performed an abortion 2 minutes before the delivery and then flushed the baby down the toilet before chopping it up and lived it. And guess what? Everything that you just said about, well, for 50 years gets thrown out the window, and people run to vote because Sean Hannity told me that there's a doctor in Kansas who chops up babies before they flush them down the toilet. Right.
Who was the guy in Philly? Who was the doctor in Philly? They paraded around for the longest time, and they were talking about how that guy would take babies out and feed them to the wood chipper or whatever. They did that shit forever.
Right.
And they continue.
And by the way, there's not much of a difference between the way that gets portrayed and, of course, illegal immigration on the border. They're coming over. They're coming to take over your job, your life, your car. They're stealing it, and Republicans have this natural advantage that hyperbolic descriptions of anything now particularly, think about it, 25 years ago they didn't even have the internet to blow this stuff up bigger than it was, but now it goes viral so quickly. It's amazing. And so the Democrats have to come up with a way to make the reasonable sound attractive. Okay, that's the problem. And if they've sat in rooms or been on podcasts like we are saying, you know what, if we just present the facts, people will see through the bullshit. Well, okay, forget that one. Just forget that one.
Yeah, that's the people who clearly can't see through the bullshit. So we have to kind of move on to Plan B.
Right.
And it's weird that we're talking about it. We're talking about abortion and Plan B in the same sentence, which is ironic.
Right. And one more thing here, because of the protracted, nonstop effort to squash the memory of, diminish the importance of, and actually change the narrative on what happened on January 6th to, well, the real insurrection was on November 3rd last year, not on January 6th. That was just a rational, intelligent reaction to the cheating and the theft that happened on Election Day a year ago. That effort has worked to the point where you have a lot of voters who have just said, time to move on. Country's still here.
Yeah.
Everything's okay. It didn't affect me. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
And what about this inflation? And you're not going to be able to get your kids
any
Christmas
inflation?
Presents.
Yeah, you're talking about
Joe Biden fucked everything up, and now you're not going to get little Jimmy his little erector set or whatever he needs for Christmas.
Right. January 6th. You're just bringing that up because you don't want to talk about the price of bread.
Yeah,
right?
And plus, a lot of Republican voters who are diabetics anyway. You're not able to get your Big Macs because they can't keep the McDonald's staff because Joe Biden is paying people to sit on their couch. I mean, this is all shit that's being played into right now, and this is the stuff, that's being thrown at him instead of January the 6th. Which, by the way, the consternation. I'm telling you, when the anniversary comes around in a couple months to commemorate this thing. There's going to be, I think, two strategies for the Republicans. Oh, the Democrats are making too much of this, and the second, again, the fallback position will be, we need to celebrate the life of Ashley Babbitt. That's what needs to happen on January the 6th, and that's the most important thing that needs to happen. Mark the tape on that one, Snurdly.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't have the congressional calendar in front of me.
Yeah,
right now as to whether the number of days between now and say January 6th. The Congress or the House in particular will be in session. I can't tell you whether it's 5% of the days between now and then or 10%, because they're getting close to now the Thanksgiving break. I mean, do they do nothing between?
No.
And so here we are. if within the first year nothing substantial is done, if Steve Bannon isn't arrested, if other subpoenas are not issued for people who refuse to cooperate, and if the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, who, if he doesn't get his shit together, he's going to steal the nickname Sleepy from Joe Biden. Joe Biden won't have it anymore. Because again, and I just hate to be talking this way, but I have to, because I have to be honest about this. You look at Merrick Garland, and he's not the 40-year-old Merrick Garland who prosecuted people after Oklahoma City. He's not that guy anymore. Okay, that's before he became Judge Garland, I think, or he was young Judge Garland. He was prosecutor at the time, and here he is now. And again, he's a step behind. He's obviously brilliant and knows the Constitution way better than Jim Jordan or these other assholes who dare to lecture him about his legal knowledge in front of the whole country. But that's the game that the Republicans play.
Sure.
It's the cruelty is the point. Let's get as hyperbolically false as we can in defending the indefensible. And you're the problem. We're not the problem.
Projection.
We didn't cause the problem of January 6th. You caused the problem because someone at the FBI didn't do the right thing 3 days before. Everybody knows that something should have been done. And that's not about defending police behavior or the FBI dropping them. That's not, of course not. But that's a great way to distract from what we now know. And the evidence is built in the public sphere via the press, seemingly a lot more quickly and more detailed than what the Justice Department is doing. It's almost as if the Justice Department now has to look at the Washington Post from earlier in this week to find out some of the other things that they don't know yet, so they know who to go after. It's terrible. It's unbelievable.
Well, just as a side note, I'm very surprised that Lindsey Graham hasn't said that the Washington Post is lying about him wanting the protester shot. He hasn't even bothered to say that they're lying. I know there's like at least 100 witnesses that were surrounding him who heard him say that, but he hasn't bothered to do it yet. That's
to be fair.
Yeah,
Lindsey Graham may have just said he wanted the protesters garroted with a flagpole. Okay?
Well, that's fair.
He didn't want them shot. So you must be accurate.
I just love the Tucker Carlson clutch the pearls. How dare you? Those are our friends. Why would you do that, Lindsey? And Lindsey, as I said, he can't even say, well, the Washington Post is lying about me, Tucker, and you took the bait. And he won't even do that at this point, right? You've said this many times. Part of the Trump administration, the point of Trump was to repeal the 60s, right? The 60s never happened. And now with the stuff like in Virginia, all the censorship stuff and all of that bullshit with we don't want the children to read this or that, and all of that stuff is back in play. All of that stuff is rocking and rolling. And again, the battles of the 60s, and as you said, with abortion, all of these things can be replayed. All you have to do as generic Republican candidate A is, first of all, if you're a white male, you're 20 points ahead right there. If you're a white guy and you have standard Southern male haircut number 2, you're already on a path to victory. Then all you got to do is play the hits. I want the pledge said every day in homeroom. I want English to be the official language of Virginia, South Dakota, whatever state it is. I want prayer to be back in schools. I want guns to be handed out every 4th of July for free. Just bullshit like that, which will never happen. I want abortion to be outlawed, even if people are raped, incested, or if aliens come down from another planet and impregnate our women. That's all you have to say. And you thump the Bible a little bit, and then you say a couple things about blah, 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 economy, blah, 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 free market, blah, blah, blah. I don't know so much about these gay people. Thank you very much. And you just stand back and you count the votes. That's all you have to do is generic Republican.
But fair enough, except when they rip apart the demographics of the vote in Virginia, and I think the early read on this is that it isn't just stupid white Christian males, okay? Mm-hmm. Women, the women who gave Joe Biden his victory in those famous suburbs of Richmond or Washington, D.C. or Charlotte or Raleigh or Pittsburgh or Milwaukee or Detroit, they turned back away from the Democrats. And
The suburban women who put Donald
voted,
Trump in office, basically.
the suburban women, they did not put Donald Trump in office. They put Joe Biden in office.
Yeah, but in 2016, it was suburban women in some of those states that helped swing those states to Donald Trump and put him in the Oval Office.
Well, barely. Remember, he really didn't get as many votes as.
Well, he lost the. I'm aware that he didn't get the. He didn't win the popular vote. Yeah.
In Virginia, forget 2016. Let's talk about 2020. Joe Biden won 8-9 million more votes in total all across the country.
Sure.
Because of suburban women, and they went back by several points in Virginia on Tuesday. And I guarantee you the same thing happened, maybe more so in New Jersey. Because remember, the margin cut was way bigger in New Jersey than in Virginia, because Trump only lost Virginia by 10 points. He lost New Jersey by 16 points. And the Virginia race was just a 2-point margin, right?
Yeah.
So at worst, that's 12. Okay. In New Jersey, 16, and it's within 1%. So that's a minimum of 16 swing. That's a broad view of it. And New Jersey, a much bluer state, reliably, or has been for the last few years, than Virginia was. So this is red flag city for the Democrats. I know Nancy Pelosi is, trying to figure out how to get these folks all on the same page. I don't know what you do with Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Are they willing to blow the whole thing up and just take their chances? I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, today was a bad sign. The story that I saw a headline was they've now put 4 weeks of leave after birth back into the legislation. It was all gone. They put 4 weeks back in there. And why do they put it in there? Because Meghan Markle wrote a letter. Now, that's probably not the only reason it's in there, but it doesn't matter.
They did promise their base. I mean, they did promise their base. That was something that was promised to the base.
I understand that. But the fact that Terry McAuliffe brought in, the murderer's row of all-star has-been Democrats, including the one in the White House who may already be a has-been, Joe Biden, and it didn't matter, was a disadvantage probably, because I just think of Bruce Springsteen doing that concert the night before 2016, I think, in Philadelphia for Hillary Clinton, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. And
bad memories.
We're in the post-celebrity endorsement age, please. And Glenn Youngkin, as much as I loathe the very idea of him, was much smarter to be the man in the arena by himself.
Well,
he was much smarter. He was much smarter to do it that way.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see if he flies down flies up to New Jersey or down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss his, the ring.
He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. You know why? And again, look at the reporting on this. Apparently, he was talking to Trump constantly, but not in public. So he doesn't have to. He's playing both ends against the middle. I'm not Trump. I don't suck up to him. But
it's the love that dare not speak its name. Let's finish up our week with this little note from the University of California at Berkeley. Aaron Rodgers, future Hall of Fame quarterback, has tested positive for COVID, and he's unvaccinated, Brad. How is this possible that this human being who wrings his hands all the time, he has this really truculent relationship with his family in the off season, he fucks over the Green Bay fan base. I don't know if I'm going to come back or not. And now he says supposedly his final season in Green Bay, he's got this stuff, and he was unvaccinated.
You know what? I'm sorry. I hadn't read the details on the story.
Yeah.
But how is he out on the field unvaccinated? How is that possible?
I don't know if they have a policy where you have to get, tested every 4 seconds if you're not vaccinated, or what the deal is. But yes, there should be something looked into as to why was he allowed to take the field as an unvaccinated, selfish piece of garbage for a guy who supposedly is a team leader. He gave this great speech. I think it was last week after the Packers win, and he said, that G. I was having a moment with one of the guys at the stadium. That G on your helmet, you carry that all over the world. You carry that to Turkey, and you carry it to all over the place when you go, and that's important to me. Well, is it important to you to take care of your teammates and take care of your team, and to be unvaccinated? So you're not believing me. So you're looking up the fact that he's not vaccinated.
No, I believe everything you're saying, but I just want to know whether he had tested negative, say, last Friday before the game, and had picked it up, say, yesterday or the day before and tested positive. I mean, that's very possible. That does not excuse the fact that he should never have been allowed into the locker room as an unvaccinated person. It's a terrible story. There is a worse story than that, much worse story than that, and it's all over North Carolina and our local media, and it's about this pastor, 44 years old, Black man, family, 4 kids, and it's again, and I don't have enough in me to talk that much about the Aaron Rodgers story, but this story, if you read the press reports,
it's tragic. It's beyond tragic.
It's so non-judgmental. Over the fact that the guy was unvaccinated, it never brings that up. And his poor wife, also unvaccinated, uses lines like, "Well, COVID finally came and got him."
It's an interesting view of God. I happen to feel that God sends us scientists and doctors that help us come up with things like, I don't know, vaccines that protect us. I believe that's my view of God. Here's a little bit more about the Aaron Rodgers story. There's a report. This is from a Packers-centric website. The NFL denied Aaron Rodgers' petition for vaccination status based on alternate treatments. This guy, I don't think this guy's got a leg to stand on. And we always said that it was going to take like one major dude getting really sick or dying, one major huge celebrity, in order for people to go, this thing might be real. This might be for the anti-vax crowd. The people who gathered, by the way, did you enjoy that gathering at Dealey Plaza in Dallas yesterday as they awaited John F. Kennedy Jr.? The QAnon people awaited the appearance of John F. Kennedy Jr. to come save the country. Did you see footage of this? Hundreds of human beings felt that John F. Kennedy Jr. would reappear as part of the plot to save America, Brad, down at Dealey Plaza in Dallas. And now their fallback position is, well, he didn't show up yesterday, but a Rolling Stones concert, perhaps later on this year, he's probably going to show up for that, and that's when he's going to save the United States of America, Brad.
And then during the intermission, he'll have donuts with Elvis. Who? All right, this story about the Kermit Wilson Jr., 43, a son and 2 daughters. He's from Cary. New Life Ministries in Greensboro was his church. 41 days in intensive care.
Now, to the family's credit, they're having a vaccination. They're having a clinic at the church on Friday, I think.
Right.
And so to their credit, they're trying to make a positive out of this by saying, don't be like this guy. Come and get your shot. So I think that should be credited to them.
Right. She had written, her name's Miracle. Miracle had written a letter to the editor, was published a while ago. It says, since the vaccine was released, confusion, distrust, uncertainty, and fear dominated many of our dinner table discussions. They'd planned to get the shots when their church resumed in-person services, but for her husband, well, that was too late.
But they've tried to turn it into a positive in terms of like having the vaccination clinic. So I think that's good for them. But yes, this guy didn't have to die. I don't think this guy had to die, and he should be alive today. I mean, that part of it is very, very sad.
Yeah, but sadly, he had no real excuse except blind ignorance. Sad. In the case of Aaron Rodgers, all I can say is thank God he didn't get the Jeopardy gig. Thank God. Right?
And on that note, we'll be
We
taking a few days off, and we'll be back with you on next Wednesday.
Come on, man! You're supposed to use the phrase hiatus.
Oh yeah, the show's going on hiatus. Try to entertain yourselves in other ways, everybody.
We would provide you like the best of, but we can't find anything that's good enough to be called the best of.
No, that's all we can do.
Yeah. So we'll continue this a week from now, next Wednesday. Okay.
See you guys.